Is anybody actually excited for the Brandon Sanderson Cosmere multiverse anymore? One, I think the whole multiverse concept is just utterly destroyed. Marvel and DC and Star Trek and have killed it as far as everybody is concerned out there. But beyond that, the just destruction of the Stormlight Archive by pushing a radical LGBTQ agenda this year as the final volume came out, and it just had this just awful content within it and terrible modernistic, anachronistic language, like it's like being phoned in or something like that, doesn't leave a lot to be inspired with. Now, Brandon Sanderson is one of the biggest authors in the world. He's one of the top 50 sellers out there, even still. And because of this, he's got a lot of name cachet to the point where he can even host his own convention annually in Utah. So next year, I'll try to get a press pass for that. I'm going to guess they won't give me one. But hey, you know, I mean, maybe they will. He's always been, I do want to preface this, I've met him before, super nice guy. I am just talking about the content of his work at this point, which I think is fair. And I don't have anything personally against him or anything like that. But yes, he just held his event, which is called the Dragonsteel Nexus, and he unveiled the new book for next year. And I just want to kind of remind people of what he's doing with the content these days, and which he's not backed off on, which he's not said anything to the contrary on, even though, you know, of course, the whole woke craze seems to have backed off a little bit. They notice they've pissed a lot of people off by pushing these radical lifestyles. Now, this one's particularly weird because Brandon Sanderson is a Mormon, and so his Mormon faith contradicts pushing the LGBTQ lifestyle in every aspect. It doesn't make any sense that he'd be doing this, but for some reason, he got so much heat, I guess taking the ticket and just going with the establishment is more important to him than his religious convictions. We will never have that problem here. I am blacklisted from all of fantasy and sci-fi publishing, banned from the World Science Fiction Convention. We have the World Fantasy Convention coming up this next year. It's actually in my neighborhood, and so we'll see if they ban me as well. It's the same group that runs the World Science Fiction Convention, so I'm not going to hold my breath. But this is what happens. If you speak out against what they're doing and what they're trying to do to pervert the culture, they push against you. And notice who they actually give all the access to. People like Daniel Green, and we covered in another video on the Fantasy News channel how he's pushing like sex toy products now in his videos directly, which are not being flagged by YouTube as 18 up. That's kind of crazy, but that's where we're at. This is the perverted culture that we're in, and this is exactly why Christians need to push back against this. Please hit the like and subscribe button and join us as we talk about all things. This is your real fantasy news, as I like to say. We don't shill for any of these things here. And I want you guys to sign up. I am an author myself. I've authored more than 25 books, and I have a newsletter. And my newsletter, you get 3 books for signing up. You get a sci-fi book, you get a fantasy novella called Night Training, which was actually my first #1 bestseller that I ever had, and you get a full superhero graphic novel. So I have a smattering of just like, you know, sci-fi, fantasy, comics, superheroes, where you can just get in on anything, and I've got a little of something for everybody, and that's kind of what we intend to do here. So I try to write quickly. I don't write, big sprawling 300,000 word epics. I think fantasy books can be done at 80,000 words like they used to, and I think they work just fine. But that's us. And so if you like real fantasy, and if you like something different, you want to support independent publishing, sign up for this newsletter today so you don't miss our new releases and the like. Thank you guys for being here and making this grow. It's been huge over the last couple of months. So Brandon Sanderson, like I said, announced this new special projects. I'm not sure on these designs. The design is pretty cool. They all in all these special projects have just interesting, weird designs. It reminds me of like a Japanese novel more than anything else, which, you know, I guess is maybe what he's going for, but he's not Japanese, so it's kind of odd, but really cool. I do like the eyes. I like the gal in it. I like the sort of swirling monsters and the like. It reminds me of a lot of whatchamacallit, the Studio Ghibli stuff, believe it or not, on that. And like Princess Mononoke or gosh, what was the big one? Why am I blanking on names right now? But anyway, it reminds me of that, or Totoro, of course. And so this is a cool design. It's called The Fires of December. And this, he claims, is one of his secret projects. Now, if you don't know what his secret projects are, those were books that were coming out on Kickstarter originally. So he originally, in the middle of his deal, came out with 4 books on a Kickstarter. It was the most successful Kickstarter of all time. And I read 2 of them, and they were actually pretty good. And they did not push the LGBTQ agenda and stuff. So I'm happy with that. Like I said, nothing personal against Brandon. It's just the push into the wokeism that causes a problem. I don't want that in our fantasy content. And I think we need to purge that from the culture at this point. It's pervading everything that's in mainstream culture. So I'm hoping that this isn't going to have it. But unfortunately, the way that he signaled things, he claims that it's going to be in everything he puts out in the future, which again is just like an over-representation, because this is like less than 1% of the population. So why are they like 50% of the characters out there these days? It's kind of crazy. So what is this exactly? So this is a standalone novel in the Cosmere universe. The Cosmere is a multiverse, actually, and all these different universes of fantasy are connected together by some traveler who goes across the multiverses. His name is Hoid. And so Hoid has been kind of a mystery, and then Brandon Sanderson has been revealing a little bit about him over each of the books. It adds a nice connective tissue to a lot of these fantasy worlds, which, you know, is, when he first started doing this, was a pretty ambitious concept and pretty unique compared to a lot of other stuff out there. So kudos to him on that. Now, this is announced, like I said, and he announced this at his latest deal. And he said this. He says, for a number of years now, we've had a Cosmere novel every year. We've got people started to ask me, Brandon, well, 2026, where's the Cosmere novel? We've got one, he said, and then revealed the cover to the new book. Sanderson detailed that this would be a part of his special project series. Now, I don't understand this, because the special secret project series, this isn't a secret. He's like announcing it and actually showing the title and the book cover in advance and what's in it, and actually read 2 chapters of this to people at the convention where he's at. So it's like, it's not very secret, I guess. But does this mean this is something that he's coming out with and actually self-publishing himself? And that's kind of where it gets interesting. If he's doing more and more of that and veering away from traditional publishing, it means that he doesn't need these publishers to actually push his stuff anymore, which is a big shift in fantasy, because a lot of the big fantasy is still done by traditional publishing, and actually having more people like Brandon Sanderson branching out is moving away from that corporate structure, which I do appreciate and actually want more of in this environment. So let's see here. This is a very nuanced take, right? So this is what we have, though, and this is the problem I have with his recent output. This is what he posted as he was coming out with this book, The Wind and Truth, earlier this year. He said, my current stance is one of unequivocal support for LGBTQ rights. I support gay marriage. I support trans rights, the rights of non-binary people. I support the rights of trans people to affirm their own identity with love and support. I am anti-discrimination legislation. I have voted consistently along these lines for the last 15 years, which is when he got kind of bigger and made the change. And this is why I say, like, he took the ticket, because I noticed at the time, that's when he started hanging around Mary Robinette Kowal, and Mary Robinette Kowal got into the Writing Excuses podcast along with him, if you guys remember that. Kind of ruined the dynamic, because she started talking about feminism and all these other political things when it used to be a writing show prior to that, right? I think she was sent in kind of as his handler, because at the time he said, I was not going to write, he said specifically, he's not going to write gay characters. He's not going to put that in his fiction. He's Mormon. He doesn't want to do that. And so now he's going against his religious teachings and the like in order to push this political agenda. This tells me at some point he was said, look, you're going to become one of the biggest authors in the world, but you have to have the right politics or you're out. 15 years, that's how he started voting differently. Very interesting, isn't it? I am making a posting of this fact item at the encouragement of several of my LGBTQ plus fans with a sizable donation to the Utah Pride Center and the Out Foundation. So these are grooming organizations that he's sending your money to directly when you purchase his works. And this is a problem. We don't want that to be happening, right? I mean, we just want to have regular fantasy out there. So he says, I put LGBTQ people into my books, will continue to do so. And this was a direct contradiction from what he used to say. Not because I want to fulfill a quota, it is, but because I genuinely believe that it's the right characters and it's good and important for me to be doing. So he puts this in here, and it's good and important for him to push at lifestyles and, of course, sinful behaviors that his religion specifically states against and says that are not good behaviors. That doesn't make any sense, right? And so this is a very, very odd thing. And this was in Wind and Truth very heavily. They had a gay character featured prominently. They had a transgender character featured prominently. And it's a very weird thing. And the way they talked about it was very anachronistic, very modern dialogue. It was very, very much shoehorned in, did not fit the characters, was poorly done, did not fit the setting whatsoever. And so it was not just because of the way that the books are supposed to be and how they naturally look. No, he was advocating for something, and it was all about politics in this. So that's what what he did in the last novel. So that's why I'm hesitant to even check out any new ones at this point, because it's like, what are you going to do? Is he going to do this again? And the answer seems to be yes. Unless I have like a statement saying, yeah, we're not putting that in this book, cool. It's like, at that point, you got to kind of wait and see for what's going to happen on this. Are you still reading Brandon Sanderson, The Cosmere? Leave a comment down below. Love to hear from you. Hit the like, subscribe button. We are building some great universes over here, my friends. If you like fun action, if you like science fiction and fantasy, sign up for my newsletter, get some free books, and be in today. I appreciate you guys being here. I do have my Amazon store and the like in the description below if you want to support our channel. We're doing something differently, doing it independently, and it's an uphill battle, but we are going to keep fighting to preserve the culture and bring it back to what it was, your real fantasy news. Thanks for being here. We'll be back.